Dr. Atiyya Dudhat, cognitive intelligence consultant, author, speaker, NLP Gestalt coach, founder of Coach Middle East, author's tribe. She makes books for us and radio host of the Atiyya Tribe Show. Thank you so much. Looking forward.
Jazakallah khairan everybody for being here. Good morning. I wish I could see you and interact with you live. I don't seem to be quite happy with this video not working, but everything in God's plan. So as long as you can see the screen, wonderful. Can I just get a feel of who's in the room, where you're from? If you can just say which area you're from, just get me some energy. Since I don't know if you can see me now. Can you see me now?
Yeah, we see an orange screen.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm from Denmark, but living in UAE. Lovely to have you here.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so I'm Atiyya Dudhat. I wish I was a Dr. Fleming. I'm not one, but I would say that I am a counselor and a coach. I've been in the education and human development field for the last 25 years and have definitely seen the ups and downs of life. And I saw some magnificent changes happen in my life in the last few years. And I wanted to share that with you in this 20-minute power talk on the gift of gratitude. I see lots of familiar faces, lots of esteemed guests. So thank you again for everybody for being here. As my poster that went out said, you know, it's a simple science. What if you just weren't taught? And it's just a free science, something that could really solve problems. So thank you for the summit for having me present, and we're going to go right in. Everybody ready? Let me hear some sound, guys. I want to hear some energy because this is
absolutely. We're so ready to hear you.
Right. Great, Fleming. Okay, so I love what Dr. Maya just ended up with because she tied in so well, and that was no such thing as coincidence, but so well, speaking about energy. And we're going to go right in. So if you do feel it's a bit scientific, just hang on. It will all make sense, but I'm going to make it as easy and as fast as possible. The reason I'm going to go through a little fast is because we're chasing time. We are about 11 minutes off schedule, but I'll make it in 20, I hope. And one of the NLP tricks is for me to speak a little bit fast so that you can pay attention and catch up. All right, so I'm gonna go right in. Let me just see if my screen share will, Fleming, you can just confirm with me you see the screen?
Yes, it is.
Right.
65 million years ago.
Exactly. So everybody would not remember what happened 65 million years ago, but if you were reading anything in life, you would see that 65 million years ago, a catastrophic event had happened in the world. An asteroid hit Earth. An asteroid hit Earth and wiped out the dinosaurs. Now, what has that got to do with gratitude? Well, when you look into the larger scale of things, when the dinosaurs were destroyed, it made way for a species of life that was living underground in fear of their lives to finally get up above the ground, and it developed and paved the way for the era of mammals, which eventually preceded the rise of humans millions and millions of years as life continued. So if it were not for the asteroid that struck Earth 60 million years ago, we would not be here, right? Now move along a couple of million years to the Middle Ages. The bubonic plague. The bubonic plague, if you remember a little bit of history, was caused by rats, by rodents, all right? It killed 2/3 of Europe's population. But the irony is that rodents, rats, and mice today save millions of lives every day through experimental drug research and testing of medicines. Isn't that a duality? So what's the point? The point is, there's always a bigger picture, and there is a designer. And the key takeaway I want you to take in this slide is there is duality and a good for everything in the maker's plan. So let's get into it. So if there's duality in everything, the famous ones, good, bad, right? But there's hunger and satiation, pain and comfort, sorrow and joy, positive and negative. Even electricity won't flow if there's no positive and negative. Matter and antimatter. The question for you, ladies and gentlemen, is what is the duality of gratitude? So if you can quickly type in the chat, what is the duality of gratitude? Let me see if I can see the chat as you are typing. No, I can't see the chat. Fleming, if you want to call out if anybody's writing anything for me.
Actually, ungrateful.
Okay, anything else?
Embracing everything.
The opposite of gratitude.
I could say change expectation for appreciation.
So what does ingratitude actually look like? What does ungrateful look like? Just reflect in your life, people around you and even yourself, past experiences of family, friends, and yourself. What does ingratitude look like? Most people will tell you these are the faces of ingratitude. I think that's probably the difference to go on mute so we can get a better sound quality. Right, so it's insatiability, never having enough, misery, complaints, despair, addiction, grief, quarrels, feeling like there's no hope, sadness, disappointment, impatience, and dissatisfaction. Any of these sound familiar? Type in yes. Type in yes, yes. If it sounds familiar, if you've experienced any of this in your life, just type in yes. Let me see if that chat is alive. Let me see how many of you are energetic this morning.
We have a lot of yeses
Oh, right.
Atiyya.
Wonderful. So everybody's human here, so that we're sudden that great. So our reaction is also a duality. Let me, if I can just ask you to mute, I think it's Ms. Subhada, that's sound is coming in.
Dr. Hala, could you mute, or Ahmed, could you mute the participants?
There we go. Right. Sorry about that. So our reaction is also a duality. Some people turn difficulty into more disaster. And yet others turn turmoil into triumph. How? How do some people take something and turn it upside down on its head and make something good out of it? How do they do that? How can you think more clearly? How can you feel better? And how can you solve your problems? Now, these are very interesting questions. Well, is gratitude saying thank you all day long? Is that what we're supposed to do? Has doing lip service transformed your heart yet? So I'm asking you some questions that might make you feel uncomfortable, but I'm doing that on purpose. So if you're feeling a bit uncomfy with these questions, good. Yeah. Gratitude is a spectrum of deeds, definitely. But what is gratitude? Is it a noun? Of course, we think in linguistic terms. Is it a feeling? Is it a state? Some people will say it's a spectrum of deeds that's demonstrated in many forms. You show your gratitude. But hang on. Well, how do we move from thinking and saying to doing? Something's missing. So there's a quick explanation of what we just missed. There's always thoughts and there's actions. But in between, there's something very important. And that's where gratitude lies. It lies in the feeling. It's a thought that creates a feeling, and your feelings prompt your actions. So how does failing at something create determination for some, but for another it might cause embarrassment and shame? Same senses, same situations, but different results. So is there a filter behind the thought? Now I want you to look at the picture of this violin on the screen. And for a second, just close your eyes and imagine the sound. Some of you might imagine the sound to be very doleful, very slow, ominous, long, melancholy. Am I right? If I'm right, just type in R. If you thought of something happy and you can hear the real jig of that violin going on, type in J. Let me just get a feeling of how you're reacting to that. Now, what's amazing is when you look at that violin, how does sound actually emit from that violin? And here we're going to get a little bit scientific, so hold on to your seat. All right, so how is sound created? We've all seen pictures of these on our iPhones when you're listening to podcasts. We see it on amplifiers. This is a wave effect. This is a basic an expression, an animation, or a depiction of sound waves. But what causes sound waves? Everything in the world travels in waves because There's matter everywhere, and matter is made up of particles, either solid, liquid, or gas. All right. So if you look at the top of the screen, you're looking at light waves. All right. Sunlight coming to the earth travels in light waves to us. All right. But if you look at the bottom of what we're speaking about, the violin, the sound also travels in waves, because the particles of the air are being moved either very slow or very fast to create a high pitched sound on the violin or a low pitched sound on the violin. The thin strings make the high pitched sound and they vibrate very fast to make that high pitched sound, whereas the thicker strings vibrate at a slower pitch and make a longer, louder, deeper, slower sound. Hope you're understanding me thus far. So why did that happen? Again, coming back to everything is made from energy. Energy is all around us. We can touch, feel, see our faces, our desk, our computer. It's either everything around you is a solid, liquid, or gas. Even your body, your organs, break it down. What's your organs made out of? It's made out of cells. What's your cells made out of? It's made out of atoms. And what's atoms made out of? Atoms are made out of energy. So do you understand now when somebody tells you everything is made from energy, what that actually means? So now what has gratitude got to do with energy and science? That's an interesting question. Remember, everything is made of energetic atoms which travel by vibration, just like how the violin was vibrating. Vibration, and sometimes with magnetism, it's attraction. They create waves, and waves move. Everything is moving. And here's a very simple fact. Energy in motion is called emotion. So coming back to what is gratitude? Gratitude is a feeling, it's an emotion. It has everything to do with science. So just to keep it very simple, this is maybe grade 7 science that you might have forgotten. In the law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed. Even life and death, there's no death of the human. I mean, of course, you die, an animal dies, the soul moves on, but that body gets decomposed. It gets back into the ground, feeding the soil, and new life comes out there. It's a circle of life. It's a web of energy. It's a food chain. It's a whole food web through which everything sustains itself in the world. So energy is never destroyed. So a famous guy, Nikola Tesla, once said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And a lot of us may have come across these kind of things before and thought it's very woohoo, you know, what is all this nonsense about? Is this relegated to the realms of people who are in the spiritual realm, the psychic, the people who are dealing with meditation and chakras and all that type of thing? Some things that academics don't really want to take seriously. But the funny thing is, who is Nikola Tesla? Nikola Tesla was Thomas Edison's rival, I would say. They were the two guys behind the whole reason why we have electricity. One famous quote, he said, "The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence." He was very right. Everything vibrates and nothing rests. And when it comes to our energy attracts like energy. And this is where it starts getting really interesting. So if everything that's energy moves through the universe, how do you give out energy? And what is the reality you're creating with your energy? How far does that energy flow out? These are very interesting topics, very interesting questions. Dr. Hala just mentioned, Dr. Maya just mentioned that about the example of the parking space. And that starts to make sense now, isn't it? How do you give out energy? Does your energy create your reality? How far does it flow out? Albert Einstein, the very famous guy, we all know him, says that everything is energy. I've got the quote there, you can read it. I'm not going to repeat that. But on the bottom left corner is a Jewish saying. The Moda Ani is a prayer that every Jewish child is taught expressing gratitude to God. And then I've got one by Jesus himself, peace be upon him. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe you have received it. This is the interesting part. Believe you have received it, and it will be yours. Buddha says, what we think, we become. Now, Buddha didn't have a scripture from God. But the Torah and the Bible definitely are biblical scriptures. And then what does another biblical scripture says? The Quran. If you are grateful, in the chapter on Abraham, if you are grateful, I will give you more. Now let's really take that into consideration. And by the way, this is the key reason how I saw my life change, making this verse a reality in my life. So we now know that gratitude shifts us higher up a scale. But before I come to the scale, I want you to just look at this band of colors. Look at the bottom for a little bit. Just see what's down there. Things that you don't really want to feel. Things that they're not great. They bring and attract sickness and unhappiness in your life, more of it. And if you start going up the scale, even though if you look at the middle, look at it, it's disappointment, doubt, worry, blame, boredom, impatience, frustration. A lot of people are hanging around in the yellow and orange bands these days. Very, very few of us are working towards getting into the green, the blue, and the purple bands, where you see gratitude moving you up to. But how does gratitude get you up there? And where are you right now for most of the week? So you don't have to share that in the chat, but just do a quick check on yourself. Which band are you on for most of the week? Because chances are you copy and paste each week and that's your month. Copy and paste each month and that's your year. Where are you really gravitating for most of the time? All right, so David R. Hawkins was a scientist and he created the map of consciousness levels. And it's very similar to the bands I just showed you, but a little bit more detail. Now I'm going to speak about how does frequency and emotion tie up. What does sound energy that I just spoke about got to do with these bands? Okay, so to simply explain it, your energy travels in waves which create a frequency which can be very low or very high. The emotions like guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, they operate at a very low frequency. Look at the bottom of the chart here. I'm not sure if you can see my arrow, but you'll see 30, 50, 75. These are lower as compared to the ones at the top, 600, 700, 1,000, right? So just to recap on that frequency word, what is frequency? It's the measure of how fast or slow you vibrate. Okay, and it's measured in these waves of vibration, and the unit is called hertz. All right, so again, think of the violin string, fast vibration, high pitch, high hertz. All right, think about this. When you feel sad and worried, do you feel heavy physically? How many of you feel heavy physically? Type in Y. Yes. When you feel sad, do you feel like eating? Do you feel like jumping around? Do you feel like going out? Chances are no. But think about when you feel excited. You want to jump, you want to dance. Think about when you feel in love. You feel so light, you feel like you're floating. Why is that so? How is it that an emotion physically affects you that way? Because coming back to it, your atoms are made of energy. Your emotions are tied with your energy. Your energy and emotions, your energy in motion is your emotion. So what is your energetic frequency and how do you move from this bottom band of low where you may be in worthlessness and guilt and worry and my business is not surviving, or I don't have enough customers, or I don't know enough to meet the demands of the digitalization of this world, or my child is not doing well at school, or I don't have enough money. All these kind of thoughts that play out in our mind, right? How do we move from the low to get to maybe possibly neutral and then climb up to high? And look at where joy and gratitude is. It's just under enlightenment and pure consciousness. Here's somebody who put this out on the internet, their own personal frequency chart, moving up as they worked on themselves from self-love to calm to peaceful to thoughtful. And I'd like you to take a screenshot of that because it's something that you may want to try doing yourself. So can focusing on the energy you absorb from the outside and the energy you send out to yourself and friends and family really make a difference? Can it? How many times have you walked into a party or a room and you met some people for the first time and you just click with the person? You say, you know, we just clicked. That person had such a good vibe. So what's vibe got to do with it? Does it start to make sense now? And then sometimes you may meet people that You don't know why you don't like them, but you just feel yucky around them. You just get a feeling that, no, you don't want to deal business with them. You don't want to talk to them. You don't want to, you just feel this ugly feeling and you don't really know why. That's human intelligence at play. That's you picking up on the vibration of that person. So quickly play something here for you. And I want you to pay attention.
Autonomic nervous left learn how to change
This is
their
by
brain
Dr.
waves
Joe
to get into their
Dispenza.
autonomic nervous system, begin to reprogram. The latest research in neuroplasticity tells us we're not hardwired to be a certain way for the rest of our lives. The latest research in epigenetics says we're not doomed by our genes, that in fact we're marvels of adaptability and change. So as a person started to contemplate and think about who do I want to be when I open my eyes, what would it be like to be happy? What would it be like to live a new life? The frontal lobe is looking out into the landscape of the entire brain because it has connections to the entire neocortex, and it's got to resolve the problem. So it starts calling up different networks of neurons relevant to the question based on the knowledge the person learns or the experiences that they had, and it begins to seamlessly piece together this new understanding, and that's called intention. And so if you're reading a book about how to become more happy, or if you're reading a book on how to be a leader in your life, or you're studying the process, every time you learn something new, you add new connections to your brain. So now you have raw materials for you to imagine even more. The act of mentally rehearsing begins to install the neurological hardware in your brain to look like it's already happened. Now, the brain is typically a record of the past, but the moment we install the neurological hardware, it becomes a map to the future. And you keep doing that, the hardware becomes a software program, which means you start thinking like a genius. You start acting like a happy person because there's no mystery there, because you installed the circuits. And then these people didn't wait for their wealth or their health to feel gratitude and to feel empowered or to feel love, a love for life. They began to feel those emotions ahead of the experience. And their body, as the unconscious mind, doesn't know the difference between the experience in their life that creates the emotion and their emotion that they're creating by thought alone. The body's believing it's living in the future, in the present moment. And the stronger the emotion that they felt, the more they're going to pay attention to the thoughts they're thinking. And now all of a sudden, they're changing their biology from living in the past present reality to living in the future present reality. And I was so intrigued by this process that I went back to school to study neuroscience, because it was the answer. We started realizing that when people are stressed out or they're emotional and they start analyzing themselves and their lives within some disturbing emotion, they make their brain worse every time, not just once or every time. So we did over 5,000 HRV scans on the heart, because when you're stressed out and when you're impatient and when you're frustrated, the heart beats out of rhythm because it believes that there's a predator behind the corner here, or you're worried about the next thing that's going to happen. You're switching on the survival centers. And so it takes a clear intention and elevated emotion to begin to affect the matter and the nature of reality. So you got to open your heart. But when you feel gratitude and appreciation and love and kindness and care, your heart starts beating in rhythm. It starts beating in a coherent pattern. And when the heart is beating coherently, it produces a measurable magnetic field that can be up to 3 meters wide. It's a magnetic field that allows you to begin to spread your energy. And that energy is a frequency, and frequency carries information. And now that energy can carry the thought of your abundance. It carry the thought of your wealth, because all thoughts have a frequency. The emotion of guilt, the energy of suffering, cannot carry the thought of abundance or health, because it's not the same energy. It's just like you could say, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy, I'm healthy with your conscious mind. And if your body's been emotionally conditioned into unhappiness or pain, that thought never makes it to your body. And there's no connection between the mind and body. So when people elevate their emotional states, like in a state of gratitude, the emotional signature of gratitude means the event has already happened.
Right, so that was really interesting. I'm going to go really fast now because I'm worried about time and I want to be respectful to the next presenter. But is the process easy? Actually, no, the process is not easy. How do you raise your vibration? How do you move from the bottom of this vertical scale, the ego, things are done to me, things are happening to me. Why has this happened? To things are done by me. You know, lots of people say if it's going to be, it's up to me. And yes, that's good because you're moving away from the ego, but you still need to go higher up that. You need to understand that things are done through you. All right. We got to move from the old ways to the new ways. Because remember, as Dr. Joe Dispenza just said, we conditioned ourselves in the past to think in old patterns that don't serve us. If they served us, we wouldn't be feeling miserable. We wouldn't be feeling in despair. How are we actually operating? Are we operating from the instinctual animalistic patterns of hoarding, taking, and survival instead of the duality of sharing, giving, and thriving? Remember, happiness does not come through selfishness, but through selflessness, and everything you do comes back around. So which level? So I'm going to tell you now, I'm going to share with you what are the things that I did in the last 3 years, actually more, 4 years, the last 4 years, that I really saw a complete change in my life. First of all, I started studying what Dr. Joe Dispenza is talking about. I started really trying to make sense of it, and I encourage you to do the same. You may not have caught everything today, but at least you've opened the box of your mind to say, you know what, there's more out there for me to understand in this. Which level do you want to operate from? Which is the bandwidth that you want to be on? It's like listening to a radio station. Which frequency are you listening to? Is it 100.1 or is it 98.2? Which is the frequency you're listening to? And then when you know the one you want, start being in that state. Start putting yourself into a position where you start reminding yourself that, hey, this emotion of being angry, disappointment, revengeful, it's bringing me in a lower frequency, and it's going to affect me physically. Start giving more of the good energy out. Remember, like attracts like. And stay away from toxicity in all forms. Toxic people, toxic news. You don't have to check how many people died from corona and what's the number every day. Toxic environments, chemicals, bad habits, toxic binging, addictions. Try and stay away from these. Sinning, everything is energy. Think about how the energy of those things are affecting you. All right? And then make someone else's dreams come true. You don't always have to have money to make somebody else's dream come true. You may want a dream house that you don't have the ability to buy right now. But you know, sacrificing a 5-star hotel stay for a 3-star hotel stay, that extra money you saved can actually put a roof on the head of somebody else in another country, can actually give shelter to somebody for a whole week who's homeless. Make somebody else's dreams come true. And believe it or not, as Dr. Maya said earlier on, the big things you ask for will come. It just takes patience. And that was one of the things I did, but that's point number 6. Number 4, always keep the gratitude in the center of what you're praying for. Be grateful that you can show gratitude. Be grateful that you remember to pray. Be grateful that you could stand up to pray or sit down to pray. Be grateful even of that. Be grateful for gratitude itself. Be grateful for learning this and attending the summit. Be grateful for the smallest of things which you've never thought of before. And I did something quite crazy. Well, I took my affirmations and I made Post-its and I started sticking them all over my room. One of the famous ones was, never believe your negative thoughts. And I had to keep reminding myself of this because this was something I was doing literally a lot before 2016. And I had to repeatedly tell myself, in fact, I had to make more of that Post-it note, never believe your negative thoughts. So what are your affirmations? What are the things that you need to counter? What is the duality of your thoughts? Can you switch it? Can you put it down? Can you post it somewhere, everywhere? Bathroom, mirror, fridge, wherever, your office, your desk, you're in your diary, just do it. It actually works. And I never forget that what God says in various scriptures, but I chose this one. We will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and loss of wealth and lives and fruits. And fruits meaning, you know, the fruits of your labor, but give good tidings to the patient. Patience really is the key. And the prayer that I put into, we're told in Arabic, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ. Seek help through patience and prayer, because verily God is with the patient. Right? And this is in Philippians, it's in so many different verses of different scriptures as well. Now, if everyone does their little bit, the global energy changes. Imagine plugging into that kind of a power grid. Imagine if everybody's plugging in and creating this energetic vibration. Miracles will surely happen, and they actually do. So that's all from me, folks. I am so worried about time. Hope you absorbed as much as possible there.
Well, no worries at all. In fact, you created just a field of, you know, positive vibes and magnet. And in fact, yes, we should connect more. You mentioned so many beautiful concepts like, you know, your brain will definitely work very hard to achieve the dream you are visualizing. Emotions, the importance of emotions, feeling satisfied at heart, having a vision, a global vision, connecting with yourself and the world, and finally having the patience. That is the real seed of gratitude, and sharing with others what you have. In fact, you've been so beautiful, so wonderful. I wish we could have more time. Fleming, what do you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. The idea of we are energy looking into the mirror, a community of 50 trillion cells, which needs food every day to be renewed, is actually the picture we need to have the focus on. Thank you so much, Atiyya.
Thank you so much, Fleming. And I'm looking forward to being with you on the panel at 3 with Yesem and Brighta, yourself, Emma, Kanan. I think that's going to be really on fire. So I'm really looking forward to 3 o'clock. I hope you guys are going to join us. If you have something to do, do it and come back at 3. Believe me, you are not going to regret that panel. Just the introductory work that we were doing, it was like we should have recorded that. But thank you, everybody. And I've put on my website today if you want to contact me and get replays of some of the amazing stuff that different coaches, different doctors have been doing, contributing on our panels on radio and on Coach Middle East. I've had amazing people come on Coach Middle East, doctors and coaches within the UAE. And if you are people who'd love to contribute and spread the energy, plug into the power grid, please contact me, because we just want to make more good things happen. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.